Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Talking Cardboard. As always, my name is Cory, and if you like the content you see here on the channel, consider subscribing. We really do appreciate it. Today's episode is all about Spirit Island and the first expansion for Spirit Island called Branch and Claw. This is my very first time using my new webcam setup to point it down at the table here to show you the gameplay, and this is my first time doing a playthrough of a game kind of live on camera, but in a way I'm posting it after the fact just to make sure that everything works properly. But it's not going to be a full playthrough of Spirit Island today, but it's going to be a partial playthrough just to see if I can get this setup to work properly, and if this setup works out really nicely, I'll do plenty more of these in the future, and I'm looking to do, like I said, just a lot more of these if this entire setup works the way I expect it to. So fingers crossed that it works. Let's get started. Alright, and I have everything set up here down on the table. As you can see, I am using one of the new spirits from the first expansion called Fangs behind the leaves. This spirit is all about using the beast tokens to my advantage. For those of you who are not familiar with Spirit Island or not familiar with the expansion, I'll kind of go into details as I play just to explain what's going on and what everything means. But without further ado, let's just kind of dive right into it. The adversary that I'm using is called the Kingdom of France, the Plantation colony. So this is an adversary that comes in the first expansion of the game, and what adversaries do is give some life to the invaders that are invading the island. Without the adversary, you can play just regular plain vanilla Spirit Island, and it is extremely hard just by playing it that way. But I've played my fair share of Spirit Island recently, and I just like to kind of ramp up the difficulty a little bit each time I play. Now, having said that, I am ramping up the difficulty a little bit, but I'm sticking with a level 1 difficulty here at the top. As you can see, it goes all the way down to level 6 difficulty, which is just insanely difficult. It has a couple additional, like an additional loss condition, some stage 2 escalation where the invaders get harder and harder, and the level 1 condition here, as you can see, it first tells us how to line the fear cards through the fear deck. So we've got 3, 3, and 3, which is just standard, normal fair game for what the base game is. But as you can kind of see, some of the game effects that have changed with this is it says, except during my setup, after the invaders successfully explore into a land which has no towns or cities, I add another explorer there. So that is going to ramp up the explorers and make it a lot more difficult as I go. Obviously, the more explorers that are on the board, the more they can build out their buildings and then eventually ravage the land. Once they ravage the land, it causes some blight on the board. As you can see here, we start the game with 1 blight, and that's kind of like the pollution, or them, causing destruction to the land. And in Spirit Island, we are the spirits trying to fend off the invaders from coming onto our land. And we have some Dahan. These little mushroom-looking huts are called the Dahan, and they are the natives to the land. They are basically, the tribe that has been on the land all these years, the tribe that we trust and that we are trying to protect. So another thing, as you can kind of see here on the adversary board, is up top here we have a stage 2 escalation. So as the explorers are coming out in stage 2, they might have an escalation icon on it saying demand for new cash crops. So it says after exploring on each board, so in a 1-player game we only play with 1 board, but we pick a land of the shown terrain, and if it has a town or a city, we add a blight. Otherwise, if that land does not have a town or city, we add an additional town. So that's real tough also. And then going over this additional loss condition here in the top left, it says sprawling plantations. Before setup, return all but 7 towns per player to the box. Invaders win if you ever cannot place a town. So we have a finite number of towns. We've only got 7, and as you can see here, we start off with 1 on the board, and I've got my pool of 6 here. If we ever run out of towns to place, cannot place any more towns, then we lose the game. So that is an additional loss condition along with the normal loss conditions. Let's move some of this stuff over here. I just realized that A lot of the main board is off camera, so I'm just going to make an adjustment here. And let's see if I can adjust the camera slightly as well. So, as I said, this setup is new to me. I'm trying it out for the very first time, so there's going to be a little bit of hiccups here, and I'm just going to kind of start diving into the game as far into the game as I want to get until I feel I'm comfortable enough with the new setup, and I'm just going to go ahead and publish this to the internet as is, and we'll just kind of see if people enjoy the setup, have any comments to make about what they would do differently with the setup, or other games that they would like to see me either play solo, or other playthroughs they would like to see me get with the entire Talking Cardboard crew, or some of the members at the very least. So anyway, this is the setup here. Another loss condition in this game is if this entire Explorer deck runs out. So if they have explored through the entire deck, then we lose. Another loss condition is if this Healthy Island card, there's 2 Blight that we start off with on the card. Once those get placed onto the island, we flip the card over to the Blighted Island side, and once we do that, it'll tell us how much more Blight to add onto the card, and if all that Blight gets removed from the back side of this card, then that's another way we lose the game. So a lot of different ways to lose the game, and unfortunately not very many ways to win the game. So our terror level, it starts off at terror level 1 up here on the main board, as you can see over here, which says that we win the game if there are no more explorers, towns, or cities, and cities left on the board. If we can destroy everything on the board, we win the game at only terror level 1. I have never been able to do that ever, but another big part of this game is trying to add fear from this fear pool down into the generated fear area. Once we generate 4 fear, we get to take one of the fear cards off the top of the deck, place it into the generated fear pool, and then we get to flip that over and see what kind of effect it gives us at the beginning of each round. And fear is really good for us because we are the spirits of the island trying to make the invaders afraid of us, the explorers afraid of us, so that they leave our island. So we want to try to generate as much fear as possible. Like I said during the setup, we fed the fear deck with 3 cards, another 3 in the middle, and another 3 at the bottom. And what that means is once we get the top 3 fear cards generated, then we go up to terror level 2, which then says our win condition is just having all the towns and cities removed off the board, no longer needing all 3, the explorers, towns, and cities. So that is what we're definitely going after. After we generate fears 4, 5, and 6, so 6 cards worth of fear, then that gets us up to terror level 3, which says all we need to have off the board is cities to win the game. So it gets dramatically easier. And then if we get the last 3 remaining fear off the board, there is a fear level 4, which is just automatic victory. You can't really see it. It's over here off the board, but it's just automatic victory if we can get there. So the main thing is just stay alive as long as we can, generate as much fear as you can to get to those easier terror levels, to then hopefully get to the win condition for that terror level by removing invaders off the board. So as I said, my character is Sharp Fangs behind the leaves, and what Sharp Fangs is really good at is by manipulating and using the beast tokens, so these little beast paw print tokens on the board, to his advantage, to either deal damage and move them around. Another special rule that he has is that my presence on the board, which are these disc tokens, may move with beast tokens as they move. And another thing that my character is good at is I may, during my spirit phase, I may replace one of my discs with a beast, and the replaced disc then leaves the game. So that's, I'm just all about manipulating the beast tokens and using the beast on my side to do as much damage as possible. So that is that. Let's see what else we've got going on here. Is the lighting okay? Hope it's okay. It's a little bit hard to see, a little bit washed out because of the light over here, but Yeah, we should be good. Like I said, this is a test run. So looking at my starting hand of cards here, just going over a little bit more of the basic rules on how the game is played real quickly, is you've got some cards that are fast, which are circled in red in the top left of the card, and some cards that are slow, which have a blue circle in the top left of the card. It's also noted here in the middle by either a turtle for being slow or a bird for being fast, and that'll come into play a little bit later. Basically all that means is that if you're able to play a fast card, it happens before the invaders take their turn. If you play a slow card down, you have to wait until the invaders do their thing before those cards actually trigger and take effect. So that is also important to remember. So let's move this over a little bit again. Just try to give myself enough space to play some cards down, and let's just have at it and see how we do. So the very first thing we do in the Spirit phase is, I guess the last thing of setup that I forgot to do is pull the top card of the Explorer deck, and it's saying that the Explorers will be exploring into the jungle. So anything, any of the jungles that are adjacent to any towns, cities, or the ocean, which this jungle is has a couple of those conditions met, then those are the lands that the explorers will explore too. So we place an explorer there, we take a look to see if the explorers qualify for the other jungle, and they do because there is a town on that one. So we'll go ahead and place an explorer there. And like I said with the Kingdom of France Plantation colony, the game effect here we have to keep in mind is that after the invaders successfully explore into a land which has no towns or cities, then another explorer actually comes out. So over here we saw in the first jungle that they explored, unfortunately there's no towns or cities there, so a second explorer comes out. And am I losing focus a little bit here? Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. Like I said, this is kind of a first test run, trial run here, and hopefully it doesn't keep losing focus. I'll probably have to mess with the manual focus on it a little bit more later to have that pinpointed exactly where it needs to be. So now they explored in the jungle. What this tells us here on the board is that we know that the explorers will be building in the jungles next round, and then eventually after building there they will be ravaging in the round after that. So we just have to keep in mind that these slide down from explore to build to ravage and then finally get discarded, but that'll kind of give us a lot of information here on what to expect for future rounds. So the first thing we do during the Spirit phase is we take a growth phase. So in the growth phase, it looks like here for Sharp Fangs, he's got 4 different options for me to choose, and during my growth phase, it says that I'm allowed to pick 2. So I'm going to go ahead and probably not pick the first one here. The first one says reclaim cards and gain a power card. It costs me 1. I don't start off with any energy at all, so I can't actually do that one. Not that I would want to really do that anyway, because reclaiming your cards just means picking up your cards off the table from the discard pile back to your hand. There's no drawing cards or anything like that in this game other than gaining minor powers or major powers later in the game. It's either you play the cards down to your discard pile or you pull them back up to your hand. So you've always either got a hand or a discard pile, and that's it. The second thing I can do here, it looks like I can add a presence to the board to a jungle or a land with other beasts, and it can be a distance or a range of 3 away from any other presence that I have on the board. So I'm going to go ahead and I can choose from either gaining better energy and other symbols, which I haven't gone over yet, but I'll go over here in a little bit, but other symbols towards my innate powers that can really help me. So that's what this top row is good at, and the bottom row basically just tells me how many cards I can play during my turn, and it's whatever the rightmost circle that is revealed is how many cards I can play. So if I took this disc off, it doesn't mean I get to play 4 cards during my turn. It's just I play 2 cards still because that rightmost circle says 2 cards. And as I unlock those further and further, eventually those will get better and better at allowing me to play additional cards. So I think I definitely want to add more presence to the board. Presence is good. I guess that is another lost condition that I forgot to go over. Another way to lose the game is that if all of your presence is exterminated off the board, I start the game with 2 presence on the board, so I definitely want to make sure that I keep my presence as long as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and probably take off the top here, and to reveal that animal symbol there, that red symbol. And I'm going to place my presence. It says it can be on a jungle or a beast up to a range 3 away from where I already have presence on the board. So I guess I'm just going to go ahead and throw it over. Let's see, do I have any cards that need to be in sanctuaries? I forget what they call them. I call them sanctuaries, but let's see. Let's just go ahead and throw that in the jungle over there. And now I can pick a second growth because it says growth, pick 2. And let's see, I can't pick the same one twice. So I can either gain a power card plus 1 energy, or I can just gain 3 energy. Energy is what you spend to play cards. So in the top left corner of the cards, you can see that, for example, this one costs 1 to play it, 1, 1, and this one is actually 0. So this card is free to play. So I don't need a ton of energy to play these cards, which is a good thing. So I think the first thing I want to do is possibly... You know what? Let's go ahead and gain a power card and plus 1 energy. So I'm going to go ahead and take plus 1 energy, add it to my board, and let's gain a minor power card. So I've got these decks over that are off the off camera here. This is the minor deck of cards. It's a huge stack of cards. And then another almost equally as big stack of cards, I've got major powers. Major powers are a lot better cards, as you can see by the name, but they're a lot more expensive to pull off. It costs a lot more energy to play these. So in early game, I don't have a lot of energy to spend, so I'm going to go ahead and try to gain a minor power. The thing you do with gaining minor power or major powers is you draw the top 4 cards off the deck. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the top 4 cards of the minor power deck, put the rest back here. And gaining a minor power, I can look at these 4 cards and I can choose 1 to keep in my hand, or 1 to put into my hand. The other 3 get discarded to the discard pile. The way the major powers work, if I had decided to take a major power, is in the same way that minor powers work, other than the fact that when you gain that major power card to your hand, you actually have to forget a different power card. So you have to remove a power card either from your discard pile, from play, or from your hand, and remove it from the game forever. So major power cards replace another card out of your hand. Whereas minor powers, you just simply add it. So let's see what we have going on here. Sky stretches to the shore. This turn, target spirit may use 1 slow power as if it were fast, or vice versa. That's pretty decent. Quicken the earth struggles, 1 damage to each town or city, or I can defend 10. I really like that card a lot. But it needs to be on an area, because its range is 0. So this card would actually have to be on a spot that I have presence. But not only that, it's got the symbol here has kind of that sunburst icon underneath the symbol, and that means, I call them sanctuaries. I'm trying to think of what they actually are called here. Let me just double check the rule book. Oh, sacred sites. So here's the back of the rule book here. You can see that this is just a regular disc is your presence. A sacred site is any land where a spirit has 2 or more presence. So that sacred site icon, as you can see here on the card, means that I need to have 2 or more presence on that land spot, and it's got a range of 0. That arrow with a 0 above it next to it means that it needs to be on that land where my sacred site is. It can't be any range away from it. But that's really good. Defend 10 is really powerful, and we'll get into why that's important later. Let's see here. So that is that. The promises of protection. Gather up to 2 Dahan. Dahan have +2 health while in target land. Ooh, okay. So that's pretty strong. That's really strong for the Dahan. Protecting them. And all those 3 are fast. The 4th card here is slow. It says tormenting rot flies. So the target land has to be either sand or wetland. It's got to be range 2 away from one of my presence. And it says add a disease, or if target land has invaders, I gain 2 fear. If a disease is present, I gain an additional fear, and if blight is present, I gain another fear. So potentially up to 4 fear. That card is pretty cool as well. What disease does, I guess I should kind of go into that a little bit here. So on this reference card here. The beasts say that they harm invaders and generate fear as specified by certain power cards. So those are particular kind of to particular cards or my spirit in general. And then as you can kind of see going on down the list here, further on down the card, we've got the wilds, the disease, and the strife. So the wilds prevent explorers from coming onto the land, and then you remove the token. The disease token prevents the next build action, and strife basically blocks a specific invader from doing damage during the ravage phase. So those tokens are real nice to have. This one could add potentially the disease token, so that would stop them from building in the land. And as we know, as we can see here from the board, they will be building in a jungle next turn, or I guess this coming turn here. So we want to keep that in mind, that we don't necessarily want those explorers to hang out for very much longer in the jungle, because if they do, they will be building additional towns and or cities to that spot, and that is real detrimental as they increase. So we want to keep that in mind. What would be the best card here for now? Let's see. I think I don't have any sacred sites yet, so I don't know if I can really use that card, even though it is appealing. That card's really nice too. Ooh. I think I'm going to have to go with... I will have to go with the Promises of Protection and just add it to my hand. It's the gathering up 2 Dahan, and then Dahan have +2 health while in the target land, so that can really have the Dahan work to my advantage. I don't have any sacred sites yet, so it's not going to help me at the moment, but when I add my next presence onto the board next round, I'll make sure to create a sacred site. So let's go ahead and look at now the presence. So I gain 1 energy is what I generate this turn. So now I'm up to 2 energy because I gained 1 during my growth phase, 1 during my presence phase, and then it says on my board here that I'm allowed to play up to 2 cards on my turn. So taking a look at my hand here, let's see what I've got. Let's see, they're going to be building in the jungle. We definitely don't want them to build in the jungle. This one, for example, the Prey on the Builders, wherever I have presence, I can target that land. You may gather 1 beast, and if the target land has a beast, the invaders do not build there this turn. So that would be real nice for one of these two. Well, I guess it would have to be this location, because there's no way I can gather a beast token into this jungle, because gathering means that it's got to be adjacent. You can't gather from more than 1 away. Still might be nice so that they don't build over there. That would cost me 1 out of my 2 energy, so I should probably look into doing that. And I don't have any sacred sites, so I can't use that. But I can also look at the energy that each card generates on the left-hand side of the card. Like, for example, this one generates the yellow energy and 1 of the red energy. Looking onto the next card, we've got kind of that grayish white moon, green energy, and a red energy. And what those do is those allow you to trigger your innate powers on the bottom of your board. Like, for example, I am looking for a lot of those red symbols and green symbols, and then my slow innate power is looking for 1 moon, 1 orange, and up to 4 or 5 of the red symbols to have those take effect. And those are just thresholds. As long as I've got enough of that energy listed below, I can do either 1, 2, or all 3 of them if I meet all 3 of those conditions as basically a free action whenever it says I can. So like this innate power here is a fast power, this innate power over here is a slow power. So depending on where that falls, within what phase it falls into, is when I can play, or when I can use those innate powers. So let's see. Yeah, I don't really like the lighting that much here. It just seems a little too bright, but I'll have to fix that for next time. So let's see. So I for sure want to play that. Now that'll take care of this jungle over here. I really want to try to take care of this jungle so they don't build over there. Is there anything I can do? All these are slow, unfortunately. But I might be able to do something during the slow phase to help slow them down a little bit at least. All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and play those two cards down here. All right, so I have to pay for the cost of the cards. So it costs me 1 for that and 1 for that card, so I have to pay both of my energy back to the bank. And then we move on to the fast phase. So I can only play my fast card. So this is the only fast card I've got here, and it says that you may gather 1 beast. I've already got a beast in this area, so I'm not going to gather anything from adjacent lands to that area because there is nothing to gather, first and foremost. But secondly, I kind of want these beast tokens spread out the best I can based on my overall powers. I want as many beast tokens in different areas as possible. At least I think. I don't know. I'm not an expert player or anything, but that's just kind of my way of thinking. And then it says, if target land has a beast token, invaders do not build there this turn. So I'm going to go ahead and tap this card to show that it is used, and I'm going to put a little token icon on there to remind myself that they are not going to build in that zone this round. All right, so the next thing that happens is we check if the island has been blighted, and no, it has not. We still have a healthy island, which is good news for us. Check for any fear cards. We have not generated any fear. So now we go on to ravage. There's nothing ravaging. Go on to build. So now we check for the jungles. And as long as they have explorers there, they will be building. So unfortunately, we don't have anything to stop them there. So they're going to build a town. And then over here, our fast card, I'm going to take this token off the board to show that they are not allowed to build there this turn. So that's good news for us. So that was definitely beneficial there. And then, let's see, and then they're going to explore. So I'm just going to kind of shift this card down, and let's see where they're going to explore. All right, so they're exploring into the mountains. Take some more explorers. Anything adjacent to the ocean, cities, or towns gets an explorer. If, like I'd stated earlier, we're playing the Kingdom of France Plantation colony. So if there are no towns or cities in a spot we're exploring, we have to add an additional explorer. Ouch, that hurts. And then we go ahead and explore to the other mountain, and oh, guess what? No town or city, so ouch, that hurts. Another explorer comes out, or another additional explorer comes out, I should say. Let's see, and nothing else is going on with that. Are these off the board? Yeah, I want to get these back on to show how many towns we've got left. Remember, that is one of our lost conditions. If the rest of these towns are placed from on the table onto the board, then we lose. So the mountain, they're going to be building in the mountains next round, so that goes over there. And that is it for the Explore. Advance all the cards, and now we can do our slow powers. So looking in, or I guess, let's see. Oh, I didn't use any of my fast innate powers, but that's okay. I didn't really want to. Anyway, now looking at my slow power. It's wherever I've got presence in the jungle. All right, I can target any land without blight. And wherever I have presence in jungle up to range 1 away is the land I can target. So I'm going to go ahead and, let's see here. I think I'm going to go ahead and just add a beast actually to this jungle over here. So it says I may add it up to range 1 away from where I have presence in a jungle, but I also can add it to the same board. Range is just up to that amount. You can always send things closer to that value, or closer to your presence. You don't have to use the full range of a card. So it says add a beast and add 1 fear. So we start off with 4 fear at the top here, and we add 1 of the fear down into the generated fear pool. So we are 1 out of the 4 fear away from getting our first fear card placed down here. So woohoo for that. Okay, so that is what that did. It said add a fear, or it said add a fear and add a beast, or if the target land has both a beast and invaders, we would have gotten 3 fear out of it. Unfortunately, we didn't have anything to do with that until we get a beast token there. So that is what I chose to do with that. And then time passes. So all that means is that the cards we used get discarded until later. And we pick up our hand and go back to the growth phase. So looking back at the growth phase here, I don't have any energy to spend on that first spot again, but I could possibly choose one of my other growth actions to get energy and then spend it to reclaim my cards. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. I definitely want to add more presence onto the board though to get a sanctuary, which I don't have yet. And in order to do that, I for sure have to do this one, unfortunately. So we're going to go ahead and just do that first because I have to. I pretty much have to. And I am going to take one of these off the top row here. It says I can add a presence to a jungle or a land with a beast. So I'm going to go ahead and put my sanctuary. Let's see, where am I going to need the sanctuary? It has a range of 2. So that would be a good spot there. And then they have +2 health. That's really strong. So I think I'm going to go ahead and place a second token down right there in those mountains to create a sanctuary there. Like I said, any spot that has 2 or more tokens in it, or 2 or more of my presence discs in it, I should say, is considered a sacred location. So that is now sacred up there. The other thing I'm going to do during the growth phase is, it looks like I'm probably going to do the gain 1 energy and gain a power card again. I'm really looking for some better defensive cards if I possibly can. So I'm going to go ahead and gain my energy to the board. I'm going to gain a power card. Let's just go ahead and go after the minor powers still. I am not feeling ambitious enough and or rich enough to go after the major powers. So let's go ahead and look at what we've got going on here. I like to put the fast powers up front first and then the slow powers, just because usually fast is more beneficial if possible to acquire those. So this card here is actually free. It says it's got a range of 2. I can target any land, defend 1, and if target land is a jungle or sand, instead I defend 4. So that's real powerful, and that's I think I do have to pick that card. That just seems too good, especially for now. I want to defend against the ravaging jungles happening this turn, so that is real important to me. The next one here costs 1, defend 2. If no invaders are present, you gather up to 2 explorers. So you can actually bring explorers into the land and get them off and away from land that will be ravaging, so that would be good. Some of these slow powers here, this one costs 1, range 1 away from a sacred site. You gain a fear, you get to do 1 damage, and you have to destroy 1 Dahan on that spot. If target land is a jungle or sand, it's +1 damage. So that one's not too bad either, but it's not a whole lot of the energy symbols we're looking for on the left-hand side of the card, and it is a slow power, so that kind of is detrimental. This one here is another slow card, costs 1 to play, and range 1 away from a jungle or sand, and it says gain 1 fear, which is good, and add 1 disease, which, like I said, stops the building, stops the invaders from building. So that wouldn't be half bad either. But I think I for sure have to go with this drift down into slumber card for now, because it's got that defend 1, and if it's a jungle or sand, instead you defend 4, which I'll get into in a second, but that is real powerful. So we're going to go ahead and pick that one. Now we move into our presence phase, so I'm going to gain an additional energy. So I've got only 2 to work with again this turn, and then down to how many cards I can play, I am only allowed to play 2 still. So going into what cards I'm going to play, I've got my other 2 cards in the discard pile over here still, so unfortunately I don't have those cards to choose from anymore at the moment, but I for sure want to play the card that I just acquired, and it's going to allow me to defend up to 4 in a jungle or sand area, or only 1 in any other spot. So I've got an idea, I've got a plan going on here, and I'll show you what I mean by that here in a second, but I think I'm for sure going to want to defend in that jungle land over there. So let's see if there's a second card that I want to play. Usually it's good to play up to the most amount of cards that you can to get the most out of your turn. So, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a fast card if I don't need it to, but I definitely need to play this free card as well. It's got a range 2. I can play on any target land, but it's got to be within 2 range of a sacred site that I've got. And this one's going to allow me to gather up to 2 Dahan, and then also the Dahan have +2 health while in the target land. So that's going to help me with this other jungle area to give these Dahan some extra health so they don't die on me when the invaders ravage the land in that jungle. So let's go ahead and play that out. I'm going to pay the cost. They're 0 and 0, so I don't have to pay any energy off my board, and then I can go ahead and go right into the fast action phase. So both of them are fast, so I can do both of them. Like I said before, I'd already put the token out on that jungle area, so I'm going to tap that card to show that it's been used, and I will be defending 4 in this region. So I just put that reminder token on there to remind me of that. And then the other thing here is up to 2 away from a sacred site. I've got a sacred site here in the mountains, so I can gather up to 2 and then give the Dahan 2 extra health in that region. I for sure want the Dahan to have 2 extra health in here. I don't think I'm going to gather any because 2 is plenty enough, and I'll show you why in a second. They can handle themselves as long as I give them more health to survive the initial attack. So that's what I'm going to do. I am going to flip the token over here and just show that I've got a power going off in that land, which that power will be giving them +2 health each. So each Dahan will have 4 health instead of 2 health, which will be very important here in a second. So that card happened there. And now moving into the Invader phase. So check for Blighted Island. Our island is still healthy, so everything is good. Fear cards, we have not generated enough fear yet to get a card. And then Ravaging. Here is where the fun begins and where the difficulty happens. So typically when invaders ravage land, if I don't have anything to defend with, if I didn't play any cards to defend with, or I don't have any way of taking them off the board before they ravage, then they add Blight to the land. How that works is that explorers have, these little explorer guys, have an attack value and a health value of 1. The towns have an attack value and health value of 2, and the cities have an attack and health value of 3. So as long as they can do 2 or more damage to the land during the Ravage phase, they add Blight to the land, which is bad, because if they add Blight to the land, once 2 Blights come off this Healthy Island card, we have to flip the card to the Blighted Island side, which is really bad and is closer to us losing the game. And also an in-game effect happens that really causes a lot of issues for us. So we definitely don't want that to happen. Also, another thing too, for example, if we had to add another Blight to this sand region, you would still add the Blight, so there'd then be 2 Blight there, but then you'd have to add another Blight to any of the adjacent lands of your choice. So they spread. Once they hit each other, you add it still, but then they go ahead and spread after the fact. So that is really chewing up the amount of Blight that are on the Healthy Island card if we were to allow that to happen. So definitely do not want that to happen. So now, looking at this land over here, they are ravaging this jungle. I gave the Dahan +2 health each. So Dahan have an attack and a health value of 2, but with +2 health, they now have a health of 4. So these invaders have an attack value of 4. We've got 2 explorers and a town, which equals 4 attack value. So they are actually going to kill off one of the Dahan. The other Dahan survives, and unfortunately they deal the attack damage to the land simultaneously with the damage that's dealt to the Dahan. So we do get 1 Blight there. But the other Dahan survived due to having enough health, because if they each had 2 health, that 4 damage would have killed both of them. But because I gave them both 4 health, it only killed one of them. You can't choose to divvy up the health. You have to choose what would hurt you the most, unfortunately, and that is losing a Dahan. So now we've got the 1 Dahan left, which then they immediately fight back if they had survived the attack. So he survived, they fight back, dealing 2 damage, and we could take out both of the explorers if we wanted to, but I'm going to choose to take out the town. One good reason for that is, obviously, in the adversaries we're playing with the Kingdom of France Plantation colony, we want to keep as many of these towns alive as possible, because if we run out of them, if we don't have enough to place back on the board, then we lose. But also, this is how you generate fear. Explorers, if you kill explorers, you don't generate any fear for the explorers. If you kill off a town, you get 1 fear, and if you kill off one of these big cities, you get 2 fear. So I'm going to go ahead and kill off the town to generate 1 more fear, and now we're all that much closer to generating one of our fear cards, which we're really looking to do. So I'm going to choose to kill the town. Now that token comes back out here, and now they are ravaging in the other jungle. So this card here, it says that I'm defending 4 in that jungle with my other card that I had played. That's what this token represents. So defending 4 against their attack, they have 1 explorer and 1 town, which is a total of 3 attack. Defending 4 means that I defend it. And if you are defending in a land, that means you are defending for both the Dahan and the land itself. So the Dahan would survive if there were any, which there are not, unfortunately. But also the land does not get blighted because you are defending both the Dahan and the land with that token. So that's a good thing, obviously. Ooh, shoot, this land actually got blighted over here. I forgot to take off my presence. Anytime blight gets added to a land, your presence gets destroyed. So that is unfortunate that it is destroyed, and with this spirit here, there is no way to get my presence back onto the main board. It just gets discarded off the board onto the table. We don't have to cover up any of our additional upgrades or anything like that we've been pulling off of our board, but it just gets discarded back onto the table. And like I said, that's another lose condition. If we lose all of our discs on the main board, we lose the game. So moving on to the other location, we did defend for it, so that's good. So now they're going to be building in the mountains. Looking at anything, any of the mountains that they have explorers in, they're going to build a town in each of those. If they had already had a town in each of those, then they would have built a city. So whichever there has more of, the other one builds instead. If there's a tie between towns and cities, then just another town is built. So that is kind of how the flow of the game works for the invaders there. It's pretty much everything you need to know. So now we can kind of just get into playing the actual game itself here. So they had built there. Let's just check my adversary card here, see if anything else were to happen. Oh, they haven't explored yet, so we are still good. Okay, so now we're going to go into the explore phase. So these are going to all slide down, and now they're going to be exploring into the wetlands. So exploring to the wetlands, if they were exploring without any towns or cities, you'd have to add another explorer, given this scenario, or I guess this adversary card, but there was a city already there, so just 1 explorer goes there. But unfortunately, this wetland didn't have anything in it, so 2 explorers come out there instead of only 1. So that hurts a little bit. Okay, so that was the explore action, and now we get into any slow powers. So looking at my innate board here, let's see if I can deal any damage with my innate powers. Let's see, for this one I would need a moon. Nope, don't have that. And the other one should have happened during the fast phase, but I didn't have enough to unlock, or did I have enough to unlock that? That would have been 2 green and 3 red. Not quite enough to do damage with that, so I guess nothing happens there, and I'm kind of off to a poor start. So anyway, let's see. That's kind of off the board. Let's get that back on there. All right. I don't know. I think it's been a pretty good trial run for now, just to test out everything. And, definitely leave in the comments below if you guys like this setup or if you would like to see anything changed about this setup at all. And, I'll definitely make some tweaks as I go. And I'm looking forward to getting a lot more playthroughs like this done of multiple different types of games. Not just Spirit Island. Spirit Island is a good one to solo, obviously, but maybe some other games that I can solo, or maybe get my wife to the table or 1 or 2 other people to the table to play some live games on camera. I'm looking to definitely do a lot more of that with the Talking Cardboard channel as we grow here, and close to 1,000 subscribers, so really excited about that. That's a big milestone for us and something that we've been working hard to get to and to achieve. And rolling into the 2022 season, we're definitely looking to upgrade all of our gear and just try to make the channel become more and more professional as we go. And also try to do more live playthroughs, as you can kind of see here with my webcam setup along with the other camera here. I'm trying to get multiple camera angles when we do our live playthroughs, and I know at John's setup that he's got at his place, he has multiple webcams to where we're actually looking to have kind of a zoomed in angle on every player's player board and the main player board, so you can kind of get a feel for what everybody is doing during their turn. And I think that would be a lot more interactive and a lot more fun to watch. For this kind of setup, it's good for solo, but I've only got the 2 different camera angles here, so I don't know how intricate or detailed I can get with this setup in particular, but yeah, definitely a setup that I'm looking to tweak and looking forward to dig into further to see what we can do with this channel going forward. So thanks all for watching. I am going to finish this game another night and probably come out with a full game, me playing more of a full game of this later on. But like I said, this was just kind of my first test run to see how everything worked and see if there's any tweaks that need to be made, or some of the things that you like about it, or the clarity, or if the autofocus was kind of going in or out, that might be a bad thing. But if the webcam looks good and the clarity and the quality looks good, and if you could leave that in the comments below too and let me know that any positives and or negatives about it, every little bit of information definitely helps. So that is it for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, you all have fun gaming.